What's up, Doc? Welcome to the Docs Get Money podcast. Are you a badass doctor killing it professionally and has bigger dreams than just clocking in and out of the hospital? Do you want to leave behind a legacy that is as lit as an HBCU homecoming? Want to know how other doctors are getting to the big bag? That's right, making 5, 6, and 7 figures without putting on the white coat? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Kimberly, but you can call me Kim or KB. I went from being a burnt out and overwhelmed emergency physician to the founder and CEO of 2 6-figure non-clinical companies and beating burnout along the way. I'm also your business coach, here to help you make money moves to change the world. This podcast isn't just about making money, though. It's about leveling up your life, mindset, and bank account so you can build an empire that's as iconic as Beyonce. You ready? Let's get into it. Hey, Doc. Burned out? Ready to just burn the whole hospital down? Well, let's start a fire. Okay, no, not in the hospital, but in your bank account. And from Side Hustler to CEO, my signature one-on-one business coaching program, you'll transform your burnout into a fire and start your own profitable coaching, consulting, or midterm rental business and make clinical cash in 90 days or less. That's right, 4 or 5 figures in 90 days or less. This is only for doctors who are done being overworked and undervalued and need a way out of the hospital now. With your fire offer, you're not just dreaming about escaping clinical practice, you're building your own emergency exit. In 90 days, you could be your own boss, making bank, and actually enjoying your life again. So are you ready to swap those singed scrubs for CEO status? Then hit me up at Dr. Kimberly B on Instagram with the word burn, and let's turn that burnout into the bag. What's up, Doc? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Docs Get Money podcast. I'm really glad to have you back in this new year. We are starting off with lots of interviews with some of my fellow amazing doctor entrepreneurs. And today I have one of my doctor coach friends from one of my coaching containers that I'm in. I have Dr. Kome Oseghale with me. She is a relationship coach, and I'm really excited to talk to her because when we first connected, I was really intrigued by her story and why she decided to become a coach. And it was really when she was going through a lot of difficulties and challenges in her marriage when she really found her way out of that, and then able to transform that into a way to help other women physicians and other high achievers to help themselves and help their marriages become better as well too. So Dr. Kome, thank you so much for being on the Docs Give Money podcast. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing. And thank you for inviting me to be on your podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for agreeing to be on. So let's just get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Kind of give us the whole background of you.
All right. So I like to introduce myself this way. So I am the beautiful daughter of the Most High God.
Period.
Yeah. So I'm a follower of Jesus and a wife, a mother, a practicing general pediatrician, and a physician coach for female doctors who are struggling in their marriages. And I would like to share my origin story by telling you from the lens of what happened to me in my journey. It was a very pivotal point. So 3 years ago, precisely in January like this, I had a heart attack that stopped me in my track. And I didn't have any blockages in my arteries or my coronary arteries, but I had a condition that was called minocar. That is a heart attack that occurs with no blockages in the arteries. And we find it around among African American women a lot. And it's usually, I think they had, from all the causes of why this happened is, apart from arteries and all that, one of the things that they said happens because of anxiety and depression. So apparently, I was operating in this state of, subclinic. I didn't know I was had anxiety or I was depressed. And a lot of doctors talk about burnout and they're talking about burnout from work. But I'll say that this burnout actually came from my relationship. I was operating on all cylinders, but this area was dragging most of my energy out of me. And so I had a breakdown. And if I remember that time, I was doing a lot of things. I was running my home. I was working in my job, my community. I was, doing stuff at church, just trying to hold everything together. But I wasn't feeling into myself. I wasn't pouring into myself. And so when it happened, I crashed. And it was at that point I knew that I needed to make a change. And the biggest change had to be in the area of my marriage. And then when I transformed that, I also went around transforming my job and how I wanted to show up and how I wanted to be. Now, this Kome you're looking at is a different Kome from 3 years ago, completely turned around. And I'm, in fact, enjoying my best life. So I was born and raised in Nigeria from a single parent household. My mom did everything. She had seven of us. She did everything and single-handedly raised us up. I mean, my grandmother was there and family members were there. I knew my dad. My dad had other wives, as is, the culture there. And we were altogether like 32 children. So
Wow. 32. So you
32.
have like
Yeah,
31 other
lots
siblings?
of other siblings, right? So
Wow.
I grew up in this environment, but it was my mom that I saw that did everything. My mom did everything. So I saw her as a woman who did everything. And so my mindset is a woman does everything, right? And she was always doing, doing, doing. And so when you're not doing something, she goes to work, she's coming back and you're playing, you're in trouble. You gotta be doing something, either reading your book or something. So that was one of the things in my childhood. The second thing was I got this mindset that, you don't trust a man, especially husbands, because they'll leave you high and dry. And so it was just there. And my mom always says that, you know what? Always have your money. Don't trust a man. And so that's running in the background of my mind because I had five sisters and I saw what happened to their marriage. And I'm like, that's not going to happen to me. And so another thing that happened was that the story I heard about when I was born, my dad wanted a son. And I came out as a daughter, as a girl, and he didn't want to have, not that he didn't want to have anything to do with me, but he didn't come to the hospital. So that sense of rejection was already there. So I'd experienced it as a child, and it kind of followed me in my journey. So these were like different strikes in my life and my childhood that happened to me. What got me interested in medicine is that I had a immediate older sister who had intellectual disability. So in my childhood, I thought, if I become a doctor, I'm just gonna cure her and she's just gonna be okay. And that was what got me interested in pediatrics. And I love children anyway. So that was my origin, and I, got into medical school in Nigeria. By the way, I went to the University of Lagos, or Bites, if they're listening. Lagos, Nigeria. So while I was there, I was in medical school. I was also involved in church, and I met my husband in church. So this is the beautiful thing that happened. So we had a Bible study one day, and the leader didn't show up, so he came to substitute. And there was this young man who just walked into this hall with a real swag. He's very handsome. And got my heart beating really fast. I was like, who's this guy? And he spoke so well and all that. And so we became friends. We chatted, and I'm the smart, medical student, and he's this handsome looking guy in architecture school. So we were just good pair, right? And he wooed me and he pursued me and he did everything, like writing me poems and letters. He was in the school 6 hours away. So he would write letters. We didn't have all those,
Yeah,
WhatsApp and all that.
emails and stuff like
Emails,
that. No. Uh-uh.
so he will come often to visit, and he tells me he wants to put the smile on my face. It was just the best guy. And the background of all I had in my mind about men was still ringing there, but he did everything to just break down those walls. And one of the pivotal thing he did was, I remember one time we went on dates, like we went to eat in a restaurant near his family home, and armed robbers showed up, like they were just shooting and all that. And so we all ducked under the table, and there he was. he just covered me with his body, like he was willing to take a shot for me. I was like, whoa, like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
check mark. He protects me. And other times too, he's, showed himself, to be the right person for me. And so I made up my mind. This was a guy I was going to get married to. And so after 8 years, medical school and doing youth service and all that, we got married. And that was when our problem started.
Aha. Let me pause you right there. I think that's so beautiful that you, first of all, I 31 other siblings is insane to me. Like, but I do understand that different cultures, of
Yeah,
course, they believe that men are able to
yeah,
take different, like, of course, a
yeah,
multitude of wives if they
yeah.
can afford it, or, if their religious customs say that. But I was going to say, I think it's so beautiful that you really decided to become a pediatrician because of your sister and her intellectual disabilities. I'm just curious though, how did that, I mean, how was she able to fare, like, of course, in
Oh,
Nigeria,
oh,
and not being in the American system, which of course
yeah,
I was born into, where you have all of these plans and systems and resources to make sure that that your child is still able to succeed. So how was the
yeah.
experience like,
It
do you
was it,
know, with
it
your
wasn't a
sister?
good experience. So first of all, having a child with disability, they're thinking, "Oh, God has cursed you. You must have done
Mm,
something wrong, right?" And then being that she was one of many wives, she had to take the sole responsibility of taking care of this child.
yeah.
And my sister had a lot of seizures when she was little, so it really
Mm,
affected her. She's the only one who never went to school amongst us. They
okay.
no, they wouldn't take her in school, and it was really sad. So
Yeah.
she stayed with my mom all through. And the most amazing thing about this girl was that she would write letters to us, like to me,
Hmm.
and she would write circle, 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 circle. And I didn't know what she was saying, but our developmental stage was like around age of 8. That's where she stopped growing.
Hmm.
This sister, she couldn't go to school. She couldn't do any other trade, nothing. But I knew she was intelligent because she would remember names. She would remind you of activities that happened so many years ago. And
Hmm.
so when all of us got married and started living home and then coming back with our kids, she related more with the little kids, with our kids.
Hmm.
And then when the kids get older, I'm like, what is wrong with her? They start asking questions. What is wrong with her? Right?
Hmm.
Like when they were little, they didn't recognize it. But after they got older, what's wrong with her? But anyway, so she sadly passed away from complications of diabetes. And
Hmm.
yeah, but she never went to school. It was until I came here, I found out, oh my gosh, she could have had so many support because the
Yeah.
social system is better here.
Yeah.
And hopefully all that would change one day in Nigeria, but it's not happening right now,
Hmm.
sadly to say. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that she was able to still really be connected with you and still be connected with your children and your nieces and your
Yeah.
nephews and things like that,
Yeah.
despite her intellectual disability. But I think that it's so beautiful that you decided to go into medicine and more specifically pediatrics because of her and
Yeah.
because of her experience, because you felt so connected with her.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Yeah, I know about them church boys. They they can swoon you and things like that. But I also think that that's a really powerful story, that he literally showed himself to be a protector
Yeah.
of you in a quite very literal sense. That
Exactly.
you know that's something that I think that, well, that you said that you never really realize that men could offer you. It's always been, have your guards this high up,
Hi. You're right.
and it takes a lot of time to let that go down. But it did seem like he wooed you in a very romantic and a
He
very sweet
did.
way.
He did.
So
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Okay, please continue. Tell me more.
Oh,
Tell me
okay.
more.
So after medical school, we got married,
Hmm.
and we lived in Nigeria then, and so that was when everything just, it was like this guy who was romantic, and then suddenly we got home, and he started getting busy. Like he worked so hard. I'm like, what happened? You're not writing me those letters anymore. We're not going to the movies, and I'm like, he says, Kome, you are now a wife. You're not a girlfriend. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, I gotta take care of you. I gotta work. I gotta give you the best, but I didn't get it. So now I know. Now I know, but then I didn't get it. And so I'll complain,
Hmm.
and he's just getting upset. And I'll tell my friends, like, look, he's so boring. And that will, I remember one time he was so mad. Like, how could you go tell my friends that I'm so boring, right? His focus was somewhere. I feel like, you know how they say that it's a bait and switch? Like,
Hmm.
oh, so you got me now. And then, but now I know in hindsight, he was just being a man. He wanted to provide for me, and that was his own
Right.
love language, but I didn't get it. And now, me being the perfectionist that I was, I did not know how to receive from my husband.
Hmm.
What I meant was like, he would want to give, he would want to do stuff, but like, because I saw my mom do everything, I just did everything. I'll fix the bulb, I'll do stuff.
Hmm.
And it was like, because his mom and dad were together. So it was like, why? I could have done it and I didn't know how to ask for help.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
he felt useless. It's like, how can I help this girl? So I didn't know, that was one big thing. I didn't know how to receive. And then so complaining, there were three things that were, if I look back now, complaining, criticism, and comparing.
Hmm.
Those were the three things that were, but it didn't help our relationship then. But he just, look, I was so mean. What I mean, I was so mean. I criticized him a lot because I was like, he's not taking me out as he used to. He's not writing me those poems. He's not singing those love songs to me. So I wrote like a 3-page letter, no, a 7-page letter to the church pastor, telling him all the bad things, all the things he didn't do. I was so disappointed. Like, like I was on the high and suddenly came low, and I was so disappointed. That was my perfectionist tendencies, right? So I remember he sat there listening to what the pastor was saying, and he said that day, I thought I could just walked away, but I
Hmm.
just said, you know what? I don't think she knows what she's doing. I'll just stick around.
Hmm.
And so this guy stuck around for 19 years
Wow.
until our breakdown.
Like I'm gonna wait her out until she just breaks on down.
Yeah, until things change. All right, so we got married, and I expressed my desire that I wanted to be a pediatrician. I wanted to come to the United States. All my friends were there and all
Hmm.
that. And I just said it like a wishful thinking. I didn't know that he took it to heart,
Hmm.
and he made everything possible for me to come to the United States, and I did.
Well, okay, pause. I was gonna pause you before,
Okay.
cause, and then I want to pause and say I'm gonna put a pin in him doing everything to help you to get into the United States, because that is not a small feat.
No, it's
But
not.
I so resonate with not knowing how to ask for help, and it's hard, I think, not just as a physician, because as physicians, I think, because it's such a masculine specialty, because it's been so many men and then nurses are typically the women,
Yeah.
it's hard for us, I think, when we get into the workplace to ask for help, because it's like a woman asking another woman, and there's I think there's dynamics with that. But I also think, just as black women more specifically, we're always, well, a lot of times we're taught that we have to get it by ourselves, we have to do everything by ourselves. So I just super resonate with that. It's really really hard to learn how to ask for help, and that's vulnerable in the way to just be able to say, like, I know I look like I got everything together, but I don't. And so I might need you to just go pick up, some meat from the grocery store, or I might just need you to just do one thing for me. And it shows just a level of vulnerability that I think black women just aren't able to express, because, like I said, we just carry the whole load on our shoulders. And then on top of that, who did your mom ask for help for? She's got 7 kids.
Yeah.
Yes, you said you have your grandmother, but it's like, you weren't even really allowed to play, or you guys were always supposed to be doing, not just
Yeah.
necessarily
Mhm.
being, which is the essence. And I know you'll probably get into this at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
The essence of femininity is really just being,
Yeah.
and
Correct.
being able to receive, and being
Correct.
vulnerable, and being
Correct.
open.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to do. So I just wanted to say that
Yeah.
I resonate with that so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So now, in spite of those ways of being, he still gave. He
Hmm.
still gave. He still wanted to support me. He wanted to still give to me,
Hmm.
right? In spite of how I was showing up, because he just felt like she's gonna change. She's gonna mature and all that. But he helped me to come to the United States and to pursue my dream. It was like I wanted to achieve her dreams. So I came with 2 kids.
Mm.
And then he had to work back in Nigeria to send money so that I could get settled. My sister was here. But it was an tough, challenging journey, right? With two kids preparing for the USMLE, trying to fit into the system. Now, he did the best he could to support, but I had to do my part. But while here, I learned to survive. And being an international medical graduate from Africa, we actually at the bottom rung of the ladder in the choices of who will come into residency. So I had a lot of rejection, doing the USMLE exams and trying to apply and apply one, twice, And
Yeah.
finally, I did get in. And so it was like, yeah, finally I did get in and we achieved our dreams. And my husband left his business and came to live with us in the United States because he believed that families need to be together, So when I finished my residency and I got a job, and so he came and then he had to go to school because he needed to build his own resume. He went to an MBA school and it was busy, 2 years program, busy. And that was also the busiest part of our lives because our kids were at that age when they were basketball rounds and
Yeah.
volleyball and all that. And there was I trying to settle in my job as a doctor and trying to prove myself because I was the only girl there in this in this hospital filled with a lot of I wanted to prove myself. So
Yep.
I did everything. I even when I'm sick, I don't show that I'm sick. I come so I was doing still in that doing mode, right?
Yeah.
Now the other thing is back in Nigeria, I had the support of grandma and the community. Right now, here, it's a different game. So
Yeah.
you're all on your own, right? And so the tension and the anxiety and the annoyance. So every little thing he did, I found fault. So just the little thing we had before, well, we're not in Nigeria, this is like scaled up phase two, And so I found everything that he wasn't doing wrong. Oh, he's not, because now I'm the expert, right? I'm the expert pediatrician. I know how to take care of kids. I'm the better parent. So I'll correct him. I'll tell him what to do. And he would just like look at me like, and just, withdraw or not say anything.
Right.
But I was getting exhausted from all the things I was doing, right? That the resentment and anger were coming in. So my frustrations from work, when I come home, like for example, I'll come right home, I'll go straight to the kitchen and start cooking. But when I'm coming home, I'm angry. Now I don't even ask him to help me do something. I'm like, help me cook the food or something. I don't do that because I'm like in my mind, culturally, you're the wife, you're supposed to do that, right?
Right.
A lot of things. I just came in and then when I'm coming through the door, my daughters just see me coming and they take off because like this witch is coming back home taking off. Because I'm like, nobody washed the plate. Why am I the only one doing this stuff here? And then it was a passive aggressive. My husband is doing a work on the table. I'm banging the plates and I'm doing like mad at him, but not, the
Yeah.
energy was negative, right? So the kids will run away and then the arguments and all that. And for a while, like, you know what? I went to call the pastor again, like get involved. He's not doing what he should do. I am the only one doing. I am not happy. So he just went, and he tried to explain to them how I was at home, but no, because I put on this good looking,
The
happy
mask. Yeah.
mask. So nobody really knew. And then it got to a point I said, you know what, this is not working. Now, I'll tell you, our kids were also suffering because one of our daughters developed anxiety. She started hoarding stuff. She started doing some crazy stuff. Like, now here am I, the pediatrician, helping other families, counseling them, telling them how to take care of their families while my family was falling apart. I didn't relate it, So, and so when I got to the bottom, like the rock bottom, I'm like, you know what? I am sick and tired of this. The church is not working. I've prayed hard enough to God. I've gone to all the seminars and I've read all the book, respect and love and respect. I've done the 5 love languages. I did everything. I was trying because I'm a fixer. I tried to fix it, and so I decided to go to couples counseling. I was willing to pay, and I dragged my husband. And my husband told me, "Say, Kome, listen." He said to me, if you change, everything will change. Oh my God, that would get me so mad. What do you mean? Marriage is 50-50. If you do your part, I am doing my part. You are not doing your part, you know. And then, now I look back, he would give me some feedback. He would say to me, Kome, I'm not your 9-year-old son. Don't talk to me like that. I'm like,
Hmm.
what do you mean? So now I can decode it that he's saying I'm feeling disrespected, but I
Yeah.
didn't understand, right?
Right.
So I just do my stuff. So I dragged him to couples counseling. We're there for 1 year and then tried to.
Not you. I'm sorry. I had to laugh. You said that, and I dragged him to couples counseling. We went there for a year. So real. No, that's so real. It's something wrong with you. So we are going to
Yeah,
fix
we're
it in
gonna
couples
fix you,
counseling.
and I'm
Yes.
gonna get a counselor to fix you because I'm the good person.
Right. I'm perfect.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
doing
perfect. Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. And I advise my patients and their families go to counseling. They will help you. Now I'm experiencing counseling, and we go to counseling, and they're like, "Can you share your feelings?" My husband like, "What feelings?" So now now that I know, like women, we're in touch with our feelings. Men are feelings is not a territory for men. It's not their culture, right? So and I'm like, you don't want to share your feelings now, and then we will go to counseling, and then we'll fight all the way back. So it was getting worse.
Mm.
Is it not getting better?
Mm.
Because I thought 1 year of counseling, and then like counselor told me, you know what? And like I said, he's a narcissist, and I go and check all the qualities of narcissists. I'll Google it, like, oh, he fits this, he fits this, and I'll come home. You're a narcissist, and guess what?
Hmm.
Counselor said I can't help you. She advised me you could, I think separation might be the best for you. And I thought this expert woman knows best. And I
Hmm.
came home and asked my husband for a separation. I thought if we separated, he's in his own space, I'm in my own space, I'll have the joy and the happiness that I'm looking for. I'll be fine. My mother took care of the kids. And, I had all this narrative in my brain. And my husband said, Kume, separation is equal to divorce. I don't want divorce. There's been no divorce in my family. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't care, you know. And so we had a really breakdown, a big one, right? And I said, I'd asked him to leave. This is really terrible. I'd asked him to leave, and he didn't want to leave, but it got to this point we had this big quarrel, and he said, okay, I'll leave. And he got a job. He got a job back in Nigeria, and his field. And he
Hmm.
left. He said, I'm never coming back.
Hmm.
And so when he left, that was when COVID-19 happened.
Hmm.
And I just got clarity that no, I didn't want him to leave. This is not what I want. What I was
Right.
looking for was a connection in my marriage. I wanted to, be loved. I wanted to be showered. But I wasn't getting, and I didn't know how. And I tried everything. So I had a breakdown. I wept. I cried. Like, God, you gotta help me. Now, this morning particular morning, I went down to the library in my home, and I found this book looking at me, The
Hmm.
Empowered Wife. Someone had given me the book a year prior
Hmm.
when I told her I was going for counseling, but I wasn't ready to read the book because I was so upset reading the book. Like, what kind of stupid thing is this book saying? I dropped it there. So that day I picked up that book. I'm like, oh my God, this woman was talking to me. I
Hmm.
had a lot to do with where my marriage was. And so that was where my journey began.
Hmm.
And it was an internal work I had to do with myself. And so I had to get a coach. Like I read, I'm like, I can't do this on my own. I can't change, some things. I needed someone to show me my blind spots, right?
Yeah.
I tried to do it by myself. After 1 week, I gave up. Like, no, no, no. I want my husband back, and I know I don't know how to do it. As at this time, our conversation on the phone was really, really acrimonious. It was bad, right? It was really
Hmm.
hurtful and painful. He was angry. I was angry. And so I got this coach who was a doctor, and
Hmm.
she started teaching me about self-care. Like, you got to replenish yourself. So self-care was huge. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I mean, this Kome you're looking at that I put on makeup, I do my hair. This is a different person.
Well, hold on. Pause right there. That also is an experience that I have had as well too. I have hit like rock bottom. For me, it was business. Like it was just like kind of do or die. I was leaving a marriage that was not good, and I needed to leave the situation, but it really felt like I had nothing. And same thing, I had bought a book and it been there for it was literally on my nightstand for probably about a year. No, first it was in my garage for 6 months, and then I brought it upstairs and it sat on my nightstand for about another 6 months. And the same type of thing. I just one day I was like breaking down,
Yeah.
and I looked over and I'm like, let me read this book.
You read this book?
And it opened a completely new door, and that's what I was like, okay, I need a coach, I need someone to help
Exactly.
guide me. But I
Exactly.
think I wanted to say that I've had a very similar experience, and
Mhm.
that's part of the reason why I'm sitting here as well too, because I think if I hadn't read that book, and it's called We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers, that I don't think that I would, one, have been successful in business as a physician, because I had absolutely no idea, and
Mhm.
two, I definitely don't think that I would be a coach at
Mhm.
all right now either, because it's just like, what roadmap did I had? I had no plan. I had no nothing. It's just like whatever. But I
Oh,
think the biggest thing that was kind of tapping into what you were saying is that even as physicians, we are taught to care for everybody else,
yes.
and we literally
Okay, for
for
ourselves.
years are not able to care for ourselves. And
Exactly.
so many people say, well, you're a doctor, you should know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in theory, we
Yeah.
know because we see
Yeah.
what we tell our patients to do, and then they come back and they give us the results. But we don't have the time, the space, the opportunity to even apply that for ourselves. So, yeah, you hear self care, and then you were saying, like, yeah, put on your makeup or go get your hair
Yeah.
done, go get your
Yeah.
nails done. Yeah, that's kind of like outward, kind of like superficial self
Uh-huh.
care, and that's important. Don't get me wrong, because
I
I
know.
go
I
do
get
my,
you. I get you. So,
but
so
it's just like really true in depth
true
self
in depth,
care.
internal, right? So this is the beauty of self care. Like it was. So when I coach women, I tell them like, what are things you can do that actually makes you happy, frivolously happy,
Hmm.
and incorporate three of those things into your day every day. So it becomes a practice. And
Hmm.
so that was what I started doing every day. And I noticed that I I'm not as negative as I was. And I
What,
began
I'm
to
sorry. What did you do, for example? Because you said
okay,
frivolously happy,
so
meaning like
frivolously.
not even attached to anything else. It's
Not
just like
attached.
this is
Okay, so
good
for
for joy.
example, I discovered that I love to take walks.
Hmm.
So I walk every day, and that's 30 minutes walk, right? It does something to my brain. And I usually, in the when I'm not working, I do that. But when I'm working, the week I'm working, so I decide to do it during my break time.
Hmm.
So in the morning, I'll see patients, and in the afternoon, just before the afternoon time, I do that 30 minutes walk. I have 1 hour break.
Hmm.
I found out that I show up different to the afternoon patients. Usually, the afternoon parents, you want to kill some, some of them.
Yes, you do. Like, get out of my faces. I'm
Get out
ready
of
to
my
go.
face. Like you're being mad, but in your brain, your energy is like, I'm gonna kill you right now. You don't get up. So but I found that I was showing up differently.
Hmm.
Even that my evaluations went up. And I'm like, wow, this
Hmm.
is different. So that was one. I did that every day. I did my I did something. I didn't know how I felt. We weren't raised to connect with our feelings, our emotions, really. So I journaled every day. How do I feel? What do I want? It's like, how am I feeling? Like, I didn't know I had feelings. So I'm like, I am tired. All right, I'll give myself a
Hmm.
nap. I'll feel better. So one of the things that incorporated was that after work, because when I leave work, I'm so exhausted, right? And that's why when my kids see me coming, they're running away because I'm coming on fumes, no energy, as
Yeah.
I'm ready to kill someone. So I told them, I said, I just need to have an hour's nap when I come home. And
Hmm.
so sometimes 30 minutes or an hour. So I'll just sleep. I'll sleep. And when I wake up, I'm different.
Hmm.
You know? And the kids during that time, they just figure out how to take care of themselves. They get dinner. And when my husband came back, I'll get to the part where he came back, they started organizing without me
Hmm.
doing evening stuff, right? So when I started taking care of myself, I showed up differently.
Hmm.
The conversation on the dining table was different. I'm not like watching my husband using his phones, like want to
Right.
correct him and stuff. Anyway, so those were some things, but then I did other stuff like taking trips,
Hmm.
taking weekend times off, and then most importantly, I cut down my hours at work.
Hmm.
And even though I was scared, because you know how I had this scarcity mindset, you gotta make money, gotta make money. But I see
Right.
my health was more important. So I cut down the hours. And you know what? just to wake up in the morning and have nowhere to go. Go to my favorite restaurant in the morning and just take, eat
Just
by
sit.
yourself. Go
Yeah.
do my nails, and there's not that rush, that hurry, and just enjoy it and enjoy this. Oh my gosh, I begin to look at the sun differently. I love to be outside in the sun. So I found things that made me happy. I went back to playing, learning how to play the piano. I traveled. I love traveling. I love to watch comedy and funny videos that I'll laugh, chatting with friends, doing massages, like just permitting myself, give myself
Mm,
permission to enjoy, like
mm.
actually buy clothes and not just keep the clothes for special occasion, but actually wear them. Like as today, I'm going to dress up and make up and see. I'm not going anywhere, but I tell myself I look beautiful. So just
Yes.
as little, it's like looking myself in the mirror and talking to myself like, you're beautiful today.
Mm-hmm.
Or just brushing my hair or brushing my, so there's mindfulness. There's a lot of things I had to learn. My coach, worked with me, and I got to discover it's self-care is different for everybody,
Right.
different for different season, so self-care helped me a lot. And then one other thing that really helped me was knowing my paper and my husband's paper, meaning that I had to learn to know what I could control. I could control everything is about me. I couldn't control my husband or his reaction and all that. So, what was causing our conflict was that I was trying to control him. I
Hmm.
was trying to control how he showed up. But once I let go, allow him to be himself, things changed. Anyway, so I had to work on all this for 8 months because my husband was still, on the phone fighting and all that, coming and not coming and all that. But as I began to change, the conversation started changing in the phone from acrimonious, angry to warm
Hmm.
and different, and all because I changed.
Hmm.
It wasn't him, you had to do it with me. So the premise of the book was single-handedly transform your marriage. So in the past, I used to think it has to be 50-50. Respect is reciprocal. Respect should be earned and all that. But when I realized, one of the things I realized also is that respect is oxygen to men. This is crazy.
Hmm.
It's like oxygen to men. And when they don't get it, they withdraw in the relationship. In fact, I
Hmm.
tell you, men will let go of sex. They won't have sex if they don't have respect.
Hmm.
you know and so I thought that all the things I was doing was respectful, when I realized how disrespectful I was, and that it is actually an act of love to give respect to my husband, not because he deserves it, but just because it is what is needed
Hmm.
for him to be his best, his masculine self.
Hmm.
And then I could now understand why the scripture says the wife must respect their husband. I used to wonder, why did it say must? Why? It's like you're forcing me to do it. No, because God knows our tendency is not to respect. That's what it is. And
Hmm.
so when you're told to do it, you do it. But I fake it. I faked it initially. But as I began to do it from the inside, it
Hmm.
worked.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest thing I had to do was to call him and apologized for 19 years. We're married 23 years now, 19
Hmm.
years of my disrespect. And I
Hmm.
went back, I could see all the areas I was disrespectful. He was very quiet on the other end. He didn't say a word.
Hmm.
And that could be scary. Did you
Yeah,
hear?
no. And I love that you're saying that because I really see, and this is part of the reason why I love your story, is that we're calling it self-care, but it's also self-respect. It's feeding yourself what you absolutely need first. If you
Correct.
are tired and you need an extra nap, great. If you need to have some more vitamin D and have the sun hit your skin, then giving yourself that. And I love the way when you started to pour into yourself, giving yourself care, give yourself respect, then no, it wasn't overnight because you're saying this
Hmm.
was like 8 months of
Yeah.
slow,
Yeah.
difficult conversations,
Yeah.
but over time, then you were able to transform yourself so that you could be like, oh, I see what I'm doing wrong.
Correct.
Oh, I see everything that you've
Yeah.
done for
Yeah.
me from the time that you guys were huddling under the table. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? With
Yeah.
loving me, protecting me,
Yeah.
being that for me, and I see the error of my ways, and then being humble enough to just
Yeah.
say, I effed up. I apologize. Like
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I love that it started with literally self.
Yeah.
respect, and so that you could respect your husband.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think one of the pivotal thing was learning how to be feminine. So I know you talked about it earlier, but femininity is huge. I was operating in my masculine energy a lot because that's what we're taught in the workplace. That's how you get to the top of your career, right?
Right.
And I thought that I could use the same skills I was using there to manage my home. It doesn't work. The skills in marriage is different, and that's where the six intimacy skill comes in. And importantly, to operate in your femininity, you need energy. And so when you give all the energy to your work, to your community, to everybody, you ain't got nothing left to give to be. And so that is what your husband is attracted to, that feminine thing. That's how God made them male and female. And Adam was so attracted to Eve, he was willing to eat, what is it, the apple that he ate? He was willing to go against God just to.
Yes.
So that's the power of influence a woman has. That's a power of influence. So God gave Adam the power, authority as a man, but he gave us, the power of influence. That's why you can single-handedly transform your marriage without your husband's conscious effort. And that is just walking in your femininity. I'm not saying you're going to be a doormat. No, it's just working in your feminine essence, who you're meant to be. Receive from your husband. I learned how to receive. And then another big thing again was even learning to be vulnerable. Because at work, we're taught to be invulnerable. You don't show your
Right.
emotions. You got to be in charge and of that. And then
Right.
coming into my home, I had to learn to be vulnerable. Like, I'm tired, and then to say that, I miss you. Ooh, tell him I miss you on the phone. That's
Right.
crazy.
Sharing feelings. We
Yeah. So
what?
I said to him, during the spirit apart, I said, you know what? I miss you. That having you home for Christmas will be the best Christmas gift ever. You know, I just said it and left it. And my husband just showed up at home. He was like, what? It worked. So he came back. And so we went on to start, working and all that. But for me, the I'm being a mere mortal woman. I still go back to my old ways. I still have those fears, but I'd now learned the tools and the skills I needed. I know how to correct myself. I know how to go back and say, you know what? I think I was disrespectful here. I apologize. I was committed to being a respectful wife because I know my husband needs it. Committed to doing self-care, committed to just connecting with my feminine self, connected to being vulnerable. So a lot of things that I had to learn, and I still continue to learn. Now, the benefit of this was, you know, our home became very peaceful. Absolutely no arguments. Can you believe that? Two strong individuals.
Zero argument.
Yeah, I know how to quell the arguments. And if the arguments are stopping, I know when to stop myself in the middle. Because there's stuff we do that trigger me, right?
Yeah.
Like he does or he does. So I know how to stop myself. And then I know how to stop telling myself the story, like the back down story. Don't trust any man. Don't, choosing my focus because I know this guy loves me like crazy. So choosing to believe the best of him. And when I started doing that, he just kind of stepped up, became that man that I always knew he was. And then our kids changed. The one that was having anxiety started changing. And then I allowed my husband to parent in his own masculine way without getting involved. I just let him parent and then they started having their relationship. I didn't start telling me, you have to treat the girls this way. I didn't do that anymore. Just do it his own way. And I do mine my own way. Peaceful. My girls come and tell me everything, and whatever it is they tell their dad, I don't know. I don't bother myself
Right.
anymore. They have their relationship with him. So it impacted my relationship with my kids, impacted with my siblings. Oh my God. Started practicing the skills with my siblings as well. And then I started sharing what I was learning with my friends. And I had this friend, 15 years married, another one, 37 years married. They started changing. I'm the one receiving coaching. They're changing. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, there's something here. I gotta share it. And then I used it, in my workplace because I was chief of medical staff. I had all these male doctors under me and all that. So I came I wasn't the boss being the boss. You know how it is. I just guys are just eating out of my palm, doing everything for me. I just need to just make a request, express this is what I would love to do, and they just do it because of the energy I was bringing. They were willing to want to help me. So I was like, this is so powerful, right? And I thought, the truth is, if you look at the physician community, 75% of the women, not just physician community, college educated women are the ones who initiate divorces. And I thought if I can help one physician like me to transform her marriage, transform her family, can you imagine the impact she will have
Yeah.
in her workplace and all that? And so I decided I was going to work with physicians because of the impact it had. And I think one of the key aspects of my transformation was not just practicing the intimacy skills, but how to continue with it. So there was a mind change, the mindset part of the work. So that was why I developed the I Try framework, where you just don't practice, but it's sustained. It's this long sustained. Because some husbands will be like, "What is she doing? She's trying to manipulate me."
Yeah.
Is that changing? But when it is sustained, then they begin to believe and they begin to trust. So that's a snapshot of my journey and how I handled the burnout from what I told in the beginning. Didn't realize that that was the area that was just sapping my energy the most. And so once I fixed it, every other area kind of fell into place. And I am happy with myself, happy with life, happy with my husband and my kids, and can't wait to share this with other women, other
I
doctors.
love that. I absolutely love that. So tell me now how you work with other women physicians, and like what is it like, so now you're a coach.
Yeah,
You received relationship coaching, which was really
yeah.
your own intensive coaching, but now how do you work with other women to kind of pass this
Yeah.
along?
So I work with physicians and any, high income woman who wants to practice this. I know how physicians think, right? So
Hmm.
that's my niche. But I've also had the opportunity to work with other women. So what I do is usually we'll have a relationship assessment to see where the relationship is at, and then just give a synoptic, like a shot of where I think the problem areas is, because I look at myself and the other women I've been with, and then this is where we can transform it. And when we do, I tell you, within 2 weeks, if the woman is committed, right?
Hmm.
Within 2 weeks, you begin to see those changes really.
Wow.
And so we do that and implement the skills and also work with the mindset. Like, what is the story you're telling yourself about the situation? And then, because a lot of times we are wearing a perspectives about the way we see it. And
Yeah.
so as a coach, I bring a different perspectives like, okay, this is your vision of what you want to create in your marriage. How's this serving you? And a lot of times the women change as soon as they practice it. It's like another thing I would say is this, right? Men, not I'm not trying to be insulted, right? But men are simple. They're straightforward, right? And one of my coaches said men are like ice cream. You can either make them freeze or you can either make them melt.
Melt. Okay.
They're simple, but the toppings can be chocolate. It can be different toppings, right? So the toppings are the different who they are, their personality that you gotta learn, right, as a wife. So you have the ability to either make them melt or make them freeze. And so learning the skills, you can keep your home because you are basically the thermometer. You set the tone at home. And so when I learned that, I'm like, I am committed to making myself happy so that my husband, when he sees me, oh my God, she's smiling at me, he feels successful and he wants to, pour on more into me. And the same thing with the other women that I coach. We do something called the smile campaign, fake it until you make it. So there's a power in the smile. So when you smile, oh my God, he's attracted. And you're walking in your feminine energy. It's like bringing magnet to steel. He has no, nothing to do with you. He's just attracted to you. I'll tell you this funny story, right? So I have this Muslim coach, doctor, who signed on to my program, right? Now, her husband, because of their religion, he's can marry four wives. And but she was the first. The
So
child's first.
status. There's
Yeah,
status there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he and he was in this trying to get another wife, and she was like, "No, what do I do?" And I shared with her. I said, "You know what? You will beat that woman every day, Monday through Sunday, twice, 7 times on Sunday, if you learn the skills and work in your femininity." And she signed up immediately. and she is changing the dance. She knows how to show up. The other woman doesn't have the skill. She has the skill. So what am I trying to say? It works in every situation. If your husband is another woman, having an affair outside, but when you change, he'll come back because that woman ain't got the skills. You know what you're doing. You're making the home more presentable and all that. I'm not saying it's right for him to go out, but I'm just sharing that you have the power of influence as a wife. You just have to know how.
I absolutely love that. Dr. Kome, like I said, your story is so incredible, and I love the fact that you've taken your personal experience, you've taken your deep pain, because no, I can't imagine, and I don't think that I knew that your husband left like during COVID, and I
Hmm.
know how I felt during COVID, and at a time where it was just so lonely because the world just didn't know what the heck was going on, and then he's gone,
Hmm.
and you're just kind of in this state, to transforming your life to and yourself first,
Hmm.
yourself, and then your slowly but surely your life into what it is today. I love to hear that, but my question is I guess, what has been the most rewarding part of now taking what you've learned, those skills, your story, all of those things, and becoming a coach? Like, how has that impacted your life and maybe even some of the lives of your clients? I hear a little bit like, you've got this Muslim woman who's
Yeah, yeah,
competing with another woman, but she's
yeah.
able to show up differently. But how has that really impacted you that now that you're a coach?
So first thing first, I fell in love with myself.
Hmm.
I like absolutely love myself. I didn't realize I didn't like me. I didn't like me. I remember I told you the story of how my dad, reject like the feeling of rejection that I
Hmm.
wasn't appreciated as a girl. So I never really liked to be a girl. I wanted to be a boy when I was little.
Hmm.
But now I love myself
Hmm.
and I pour into myself. That is huge. I prioritize myself because I know that if I am filled up, then I can give from a place of being filled up.
Right.
And so I'm committed to that. So that was one of the biggest transformation. The other thing is that I feel so coaching other women gives me a purpose that I am in the business of ending world divorce one family at a time because I know that the impact of divorce in the family it transcends generation. So you can imagine if a woman puts her family together, she's giving her children a home court advantage of a two-parent home where
Right.
they'll see both the masculine and the feminine working together. I didn't have that advantage. And in fact, it's one of the reasons I want my daughters to have something better than I have. Like they should
Hmm.
see the mom and dad working together. So that is one of the things that, transformed, and that's one of the things that motivates me. And I just want to see that physician women who are serving and giving so much that they give to themselves as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because we're the givers. We
Give us,
like
yeah.
we said before, we save lives. We take care of our patients, and we come home and we take care of our families. We need to make sure that we take care of ourselves. I
And,
think the
and, I'll
big
add, and I'll add
Go ahead.
something more. I'll add
Mhm.
something more. I think one important aspect that we tend to forget, though it says that what is the greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Mhm.
Right? That part of loving yourself, we kind of forget about it because
Oh yes.
when you love yourself, and that's how you can love another person. When you don't love, so basically, this is also helps you spiritually as well. So I'm just trying to bring that in. When you love yourself, you're able to show up your best self. You're able to give your best self, not just to your husband and your kids, to others around you. So basically, you're actually fulfilling the law by being your best self. Yeah.
I love it. No, that's so good. And I think that's a lot of things that we definitely skip over that part. Love
Yeah.
your neighbor as yourself.
Yourself.
Like
Yeah.
that's the yourself part.
Yourself.
You
Yeah.
definitely gets
And
skipped
and it's
over a
not
lot.
selfish. It's not selfish.
No,
It's not.
it's
It's
necessary.
yeah. It's necessary. Correct.
Um, Here's my next question, and let's talk a little bit more about the entrepreneurship side,
Okay.
because yes, one day you were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a
Mm-hmm.
coach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, this coach has helped me, and look at my life. Oh my, like now I'm gonna do it." but there's a huge gap, it seems like, between I'm going to be a coach and I get a first
Oh my
client and
God.
I'm going to actually help somebody, get this as well too. So tell me some of your thoughts or and feelings and kind of how your first journey of, getting your very first client was. And I say that, and I want to ask that because so many of my listeners are physicians or doctors of some sort,
Mhm.
and they want to, say that they're an entrepreneur, start these businesses and maybe coach and consult. But it just seems like there's a huge space, like I said, between
Mhm.
I'm going to do this and like, oh crap, I'm actually doing it. So
Yeah.
how did you get your very first client? Tell me about how that all came about and what you needed to kind of
Yeah.
adjust in your mindset
Yeah.
then in order to get your first client.
So you know how it is like we're so used to giving freely. I think that we're taught to be altruistic. That's the word, right? We want
Yes.
to give and give. And so I thought I could give this freely to anybody, like started with
Hmm.
church. But you see, they were not, when you give people free, they're not invested. To get true transformation, a woman has to be invested. It's very important. She has to be invested because my journey, I invested. I
Right.
paid good money to change. And when I paid money, I was committed, right?
Hmm.
So I struggled for maybe 2 years trying to share and all that. But, you know, until I found a coach that helped me to understand that marketing is different. It's not the
Right.
same as what you do at your job as a physician. So what I learned was believing in what I had to offer, that the transformation that I have
Hmm.
is it's much more than anything. It's huge. And any woman, so I had to believe first of all. And then so when I learned how to market, how to how to market it, how to share it, share my
Hmm.
story in a way that inspires. So I got coached. I learned the marketing skills, how to do that. I
Hmm.
remember when I signed my first client. Now, I'll tell you. So initially, I'll say, I'll charge this amount of money. I'll charge $100. My coach said, no, because what you have is so powerful. You got to put it at a rate where people see that this is important. They will buy it, and that was
Right.
what I did. I remember telling the doctor what I was gonna. She said, "Oh, sign me up." I was like, "What?" It happened, and then I've gone to sign an order, but it's a learning process, and I was committed to. I was 100% committed to their transformation. They in turn were 100% committed. So it was like a good synergy that we're able to work together, because I was with my own coach when I first started. So I'm looking for those kind of women. And now I understand how to do it. I didn't know before. 2 years I wasted going around in circles, and I learned the tool that I needed. First of all, my belief in what I had, and also learning some tools and skills from my coach, who my business coach, and I got
Hmm.
this journey. So yeah, that's my in a snapshot. That's what I did.
That's so good that we forget that people need to be invested in what
Correct.
they're getting in because free,
It
sure.
doesn't cost transformation. Free
Right.
does
It
not.
isn't that's
Yeah,
not
it's
going to
not value.
necessarily
Yeah,
transform you. Right. Even the book, even buying or being given that book, somebody invested in
correct,
that. Somebody
correct,
bought that book, whether it was $10, $15, 27, however much it cost. That was still an investment that they put into learning or to taking that book home so they could, so you could read it and really do that. And I love the fact that you said that you had to realize that what you were sharing was an investment and they needed to be as invested as you. And I always think about, because I remember when you came, because we do have the same business coach,
correct.
when you came into our coaching circle and you were sharing your story. And today, guys, y'all are getting a little bit more in depth than I got, because the first thing I heard about you was like, you had a heart attack, girl. What is happening? That's the first thing that I remember hearing about it. But I just know that, when you invest and when you believe in what you have to offer is so powerful. The first thing I thought of, well, this is a lot cheaper than getting a divorce. this is a whole hell of a lot cheaper than, a broken family,
Yeah.
child
It's
support,
cheaper than getting a divorce.
cheaper than getting a divorce. It's cheaper than
Yeah.
being unhappy on your job and all of these things, because the way these skills that you've learned and that you teach your clients have radicalized and
Exactly.
changed so much in your life. It's like this is a steal almost to do that.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact when you said the physician was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, girl, here you go. Here's my credit card. Yeah, I want to work with you." It's just like, oh, because then it starts to really sink in, like, oh,
Correct.
I'm really going to you show up at a different level as the
Yes.
coach, and then
Yeah.
like you said, the
Yeah.
client shows up at a different level, and you guys are able to really work together in a way to really make sure that it's impactful. But it does start with understanding what you have and truly believing what you have
Yes.
is worth that and more. So
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that you said that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's your first client. So what is life now as both? You said you still practice, of
Yeah.
course, pediatrics, and then now you're coaching. How do you balance both kind of the coach life, or the coach Dr. Kome, with the pediatrician Dr. Kome?
Oh, so I tell you, I first of all, I had to cut down my hours voluntary because I wanted to take care of myself.
Hmm.
So if I tell you I only worked 6 days a month.
I love it. I love it. That sounds like the emergency medicine life to me.
I
I
only
love
work
it.
6 days a month, and I spend my time coaching. I spend my time doing self-care. I take trips
Hmm.
and all that. And so I schedule my coaching hours around my schedule.
Okay.
And it works because the doctors, like, they're busy. So we kind of make it. Sometimes I do Saturdays and sometimes we do in the evenings. And then the days I'm off, I'm open. And so I'm able
Hmm.
to and do that. And so I do a lot of relationship assessment on the days I'm off.
Hmm.
And the thing about it is because I have time, so I'm kind of flexible. I'm able to work with the doctors. Might be their break time they're having, or, yeah. So that's how it's worked for me. So I control my time now.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a different feeling of freedom.
Yeah.
You're not beholden to anyone, and you are, yeah, getting the income from your job. Eventually, I think I might drop the clinical medicine somewhere down the line, but right now I'm just really building, and
Hmm.
because I love what I'm doing and I see the impact it's having. I came into pediatrics wanting to, like, because of my sister and wanting to help kids, but I
Hmm.
realized that if I help the woman, the wife, that would trickle down to the
To
kids,
the
because
kids.
my kids were transformed. In pediatrics we see a lot of mental health cases, lots of it,
Hmm.
and you can trace it down to the breakdown in the family, husband and wife. So in a way I'm doing the same thing. I'm helping the kids by helping the wife, because the woman has so much influence. Yeah.
That's so good. I have a question for you, and I'm partially asking for myself and partially asking for the audience, but how do you, and maybe you've answered it already, but how do you prevent burning yourself out in your business? Because you came from burnout because
Yeah.
of doing all of the things, trying to save your marriage, your family was falling apart, you're doing all the things in your job. And of course, the culture of medicine, I believe it facilitates burnout. And as a
Correct.
formerly burnt out physician as well
Hmm.
too,
Hmm.
I'm a driven person.
Hmm.
So I always want to achieve the goal.
I
And I
know.
find that it can be so much easier, or it can be easy for me to kind of slip into that cycle of that hustle, that
Correct.
grind, that
Correct.
burnout
Correct.
to get to the goal that I
Yeah.
want now in business. But
Yeah.
how do you prevent yourself from getting burnt out again now that you're coaching, even though you're doing what you love? And
Yeah.
I am too,
So,
but
so, so this is the beauty of all I do now in coaching, right? What you were describing is a masculine way of achieving goals.
hmm,
So I have a feminine approach to my business.
hmm. Say
And
more. Yeah.
it's surrendering. I don't push, and I just set my desires. I'd
Hmm.
like to have, like, I'll tell you this. I'd like to have uh, two clients, last quarter of the year. So I'd like to have two clients. That was my intention, right? And I took the whole month of September off. I was just having fun. But it was in that month of September, those two people reached out. and I signed up. I didn't pursue them. All I did just share my story on my website, on my Facebook page and all that. And I just kept doing and enjoying my self-care, and they come. So women, we have the power of magnetism. So I magnetized them to me, but I had to be in that energy. I don't strive and push anymore like I used to. It's a way of being that I'm still learning, I'm still perfecting it, but I realize that if I work that way, I'm gonna get burnt out. I've experienced it. I don't want to go that way anymore. So I am using a feminine approach to my business. That's what's working for me.
I think that's a whole nother framework. I think that's a whole nother podcast
Yeah,
episode that we
yeah,
can
it
record
is, it
talking
is,
about
it
the
is, it is.
feminine approach to business.
Yeah, feminine approach to business. That's what I teach in my I try framework as well. So it's different. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I love that you said that because I've been very careful. And I was thinking about this yesterday. It's so interesting that we're talking about this now. I've been very careful in this journey of entrepreneurship to try my best to learn from other women. I am not opposed to men. I don't hate men. I'm engaged. I'm all these wonderful things. But I'm so amazed to see that other women are so successful in business and making 6, 7, 8, 9 figures, and they're still able to maintain themselves. And I say all that to say that I love that you said that there's a feminine approach to business because I think subconsciously I've always wanted to emulate that. And I've always wanted, and more specifically, I've tried to seek out business coaches, business, partners that are more specifically a women of color or some other way they're marginalized as well too, because I feel like we all have a through line,
Mm-hmm.
and we can understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you said that the feminine approach to business, and I think I need to, as I'm getting coached on this interview, make sure that I'm not just approaching this from a masculine way because one, I am a woman. I am in built differently. I have a
Yeah,
different chemical structure, a different
exactly.
chemical makeup. And yes, I can, hustle hard and do all of those things and grind and grind and grind. And
Mm.
of course, being an emergency physician, we are always judged by how quickly we're seeing
Yes,
patients, how
yes,
fast, like,
yes.
how many patients we're seeing, all of these things, which are very
That's
masculine
right. Yeah.
characteristics, but nobody really asks us, you know, well, did you have a conversation with that person to really understand why? Were you able to be present enough to really understand what the true diagnosis was? Yes, it might have taken me 20 minutes to talk to the patient, but did we actually get to where we needed to go, which is a more feminine approach? And applying that to, like, I feel like my bedside manner also to the business as well. Um, you gave me a lot to think about just saying that right now. It's
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah,
It's.
just take a feminine
I just want to
approach.
say. I just want to say something. As a woman, you actually bring life.
Yeah, we do.
You bring life, and so bringing that with you in your interaction is so important. I'll tell you when I used to like when before I learned when I go into the patient's room and take a history and all that, and it's just mechanical, just I'll get my differential diagnosis and but now I go and I practice empathy, and they tell me so many things that they cry and then give me a hug at the end of the day. I'll tell you what happened last week. I had a patient. This is a common thing that happens in my practice. So they'll come out when the baby is born. By 6 months, you will notice there's a friction, and by 18 months, they're already separated. That's the thing. So this couple, they were so in love when the baby was born, and then the baby came for an 18 months visit last week, and I could see, taking the social history. She's living with her mom, he's living by himself, and they were just, And so I started sharing my story in a very simple way, and I told her what I was learning and what I did and how I cleaned up with my husband. And I turned to look at the guy. He was weeping, and he said, "All I wanted to do was just to take care of her and allow
Mm.
me to be the husband. That was all I ever wanted." And she looked at him. She was stunned. She said, Kome, you gotta show me this t-shirt. She's like, Kome, show me. And so I left that room feeling like I did something.
Yeah.
So that was my feminine way. It was the woman I was talking to, but we connected with, the story and the empathy and all that. So what am I trying to say? The masculine way was to just go in, get the thing and get it done. But I went and I connected and I gave life into that situation. you know when my mailman comes to drop the mail, I just don't let him go. I just chat, and because he's come to drop something, and I see him and I smile at him, and he's so happy and I'm happy because there's an exchange there.
Right.
And
Right.
I go to the store, and the lady's packing up my stuff at the counter, and I said, "Hey," call her name because I see her name tag, and I just smile and say, "Thank you for the work you're doing." And she's like, her face lights up. So it's life giving when you operate in that way. And I find out that when I do that, as I'm giving it, it comes back to me and it fills me up. And so, like, they're like, Kome, you're so happy. I'm like, yes, I know, I'm happy.
Like, yeah, I am.
Because it's coming back to me as I'm giving. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I love that. That blessed me and in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I guess my last question for you as we wrap up is I want you to really talk to the listener out there who actually, yeah, I want you to talk to the listener out there that is thinking about starting a business or, coaching someone or maybe consult, just doing something else different.
Okay.
What advice would you say? I guess, and more specifically, talk to that woman physician out there who is really wanting to step out on her own, start a business. Maybe she's never started a business before. Nothing that you've told me about your past says that you have any business experience at
No
all
business
whatsoever.
experience
And
whatsoever.
now you have a thriving
Yeah.
coaching business where you are changing lives.
Yeah.
For that woman physician or that woman doctor that's listening that is like, okay, this is something that I want to do, but she has not yet, got her first client or,
Yeah.
just made the first steps, what would you say to her?
Yeah. So I'll say that your journey is unique to you. Your journey is unique to you, and you connect with people from your story. We all go through different situations in life, and then you have an idea what to do. But your story is your, what do I say? Is your marketing tool, really, your story. That's one. Number two is, I would say, get a business coach. Get a business coach too. So, because when I came, I had to learn to craft my story. I had to learn to believe in what I have, basically have my own intellectual property, because I
Mhm.
went to, I did a program with another woman, but I had to, because I'm unique, I'm different, I'm an immigrant, I have all the stories. So I had to come up with something that was unique to me and sell that, right? Share that with them. So, first of all, I think you should invest in yourself. I think you should get a marketing coach to get you understand where you're coming from and package what you have. And yeah, you have to be consistent in your sharing as well, because these days you don't have to go and get a store in the market front. You can do it conveniently on social media.
Right.
And I had to also overcome my fear of social media as well. So there were a lot of things I had to learn, but all this were through my marketing coach and all that. So I'll recommend that. And just invest in yourself. And if that's your vision, walk towards that vision, but take all the steps that you need to get there.
I love that. I
Thank you.
absolutely love that. Anything else that you'd like to share with the Docs Get Money audience, Dr. Kome?
Yeah, the what I just want to share is that you, if you have a vision, may it be in your marriage, may it be in the purpose for which God has put on your heart, you can take the necessary steps to get there. You can create it because you're a creator. And not only are you a creator, you have the power of influence. You have the power of influence to transform your marriage. You do, single-handedly. I'm telling you that God has given you that. And secondly, you can create the vision that God put in your heart. Just taking the necessary step and invest in yourself. Because wherever your treasure is, that's where your heart is, right? Isn't that how they said it?
Something like that, or wherever
Yeah.
your heart is, or yeah, something
Wherever,
like yeah. I
wherever
think
you
you're
where, yeah, that's what it says. So when you're committed, when you pour it all in, you get it back in return. Yeah, that's
yeah.
all I have to say.
Absolutely amazing. Dr. Kome, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for blessing the Docs Get Money audience. We talk more about relationships, but there's relationships that we have with our money too.
Yeah,
We talked
yeah,
about
that's a
so
big one.
much today.
That's a
Yeah,
big
we
one.
we talked about so much, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
If anyone is listening to this recording, check the show notes. We'll have information on how you can get in touch with Dr. Kome if you feel like you need coaching in your relationship. And yeah, we thank you again for just another episode of just an amazing interview. This was incredible, Dr. Kome. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much for your
much.
time.
Enjoying being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank you for listening to the Docs Get Money podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you find your favorite podcast. Share, comment, follow, and subscribe to the Docs Get Money podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to know more, visit me, Dr. Kimberly Brown, at KimberlyBrownMD.com, and be sure to follow me at Dr. Kimberly B on Instagram. And until next time, let's go get this money, honey.